The white professor suddenly noticed that the new black cleaner in his lab had been secretly reading his medical textbooks. His brow furrowed in focus as he flipped through pages during his short breaks. Watching the janitor so absorbed in the vast sea of medical knowledge, the professor had a sudden brainstorm. He wanted to test this knowledge-hungry man. He pointed to a nearby instrument and asked the janitor what it was. To his shock, the janitor answered without a moment's hesitation, "A Van-Slyke gasometer, sir. It measures gas partial pressures in blood samples." The professor could hardly believe it. The answer was not just correct, but detailed. He then asked to see the janitor's hands, calloused from years of labor yet surprisingly nimble, and after just a quick look, he felt like he'd stumbled upon a once-in-a-lifetime gem. He handed the janitor a pair of test tube tongs, and asked him to pick up a test tube, which the janitor did with effortless ease, his grip steady as a surgeon's. Seeing this, the professor decided to raise the bar, asking him to use his left hand instead. Yet the janitor stayed just as steady and calm as before, even managing to grab a stopper and seal the tube with a smooth backhand motion at the same time, a skill that took students months to master. The janitor's skilled, practiced movements left the professor deeply impressed. He knew even his top college students couldn't match that level of precision. So the very next day, this janitor named Thomas was promoted to lab assistant, skipping all the usual red tape and interviews. But when his wife heard the news, there wasn't a trace of happiness on her face. Though the title of lab assistant sounded impressive, the weekly pay was only $12, nowhere near the 3 times that amount he'd earned as a carpenter, leaving their rent and grocery bills hanging heavier than before. But Thomas seemed to value the long-term potential of this job more, his eyes lighting up when he spoke. "Honey, it's important work, and it's a real chance to learn. Every day here gets me closer," he said, his voice steady with resolve. As it turned out, his applying for the lab job wasn't a last-minute decision, but driven by a big medical dream he'd held since childhood, when he'd watched his grandmother suffer without proper care. After high school, he'd worked steadily as a carpenter for 7 years, saving every penny, all hoping to one day step into the prestigious medical school he'd always dreamed of. But as always, the road to chasing that dream was full of obstacles, from financial struggles to the quiet skepticism of those who thought a former carpenter could never belong in a lab.